At the time of recording this, we're a few days away from the Mythic Raid being released. But that hasn't stopped the World First Raiders from getting into doing what they do, right? We're a few days away from the Mythic Plus season actually starting. We are technically in Season 1, which means that when we look at the dungeons, it's not just the war within dungeons, but we're also not looking at Mythic Plus yet. So we just have Mythic Zero with a few changes that have been implemented for this expansion. And we finally do have delves up to and including, I believe, all the way up to 13s with special drops and items to open up the higher level content. But we still are in kind of an early place that we're trying to figure out what everything in the expansion actually is. We're still in the learning phase. We're still in the what does this do? How do I turn this knob kind of place? But we're far enough in that I can say that this expansion has been pretty good compared to a few of the ones that we've had the last few. Way better than Shadowlands, but that's not hard to do, right? So with that in mind, though, I just wanted to take a step back and take a look at the content that Blizzard has given us and how they've given it to us and talk about what we think about all of that. What are my opinions? What's going on? And honestly, I'd love to have a dialogue with all of you as well and hear what you think about how they've rolled out all of this content. So to start with, why don't we talk about the normal and heroic wings of Nerubar Palace opened up this last Tuesday. And overall, I would say it's pretty good. We as a guild have managed to get 8 of 8 on normal and 1 of 8 on heroic. We just kind of ran out of time, but we did knock out the first boss on heroic. The theme of this raid and the scope of this raid and just the general art and feel of this raid is probably the best raid that I've seen in quite a while. We're supposed to be entering the full spider kingdom, the palace. We're supposed to see this massive area and really be digging into the lore of what's going on down there and how it's being affected by Xalatath. And this feels like a raid. It feels big, it feels grand, it feels amazing. And unfortunately, I only have footage for you from the last 2 bosses because I didn't stream the first 6 kills. But even on the last boss specifically, Queen Ansurek, the way that you fight her feels like a normal raid boss right up until she gets down to a lower health percentage. And then you start running up through her room and fighting her minions and her armies and chasing her up to the top of this tower. And I won't say that that's the only time that we've done that with a spider recently, Frost Spider in the last expansion. But the idea still fits. We're fighting a queen. We're fighting her armies. We're fighting her generals to get to her. And I would say that, and let's keep in mind that this is only after 1 clear, but I would say that this raid is absolutely a hit. I've enjoyed every bit of it. There hasn't been a boss that really felt bad. There is Brood Twister Avi Nax, I would say would be the weak point for me because it feels like the worst parts of Broodmother Durna and the big slug boss from BFA that everybody hated, right? But at the same time, it does feel like a newer fight. It just has aspects of those ideas, right? And so even the weak boss, which, time will tell if I continue feeling this way, but even the weak boss feels good. It feels like a real raid boss. But let's try and keep in mind that I do only have normal experience under my belt. Yes, we did get the heroic first boss down, but we're supposed to be a heroic guild. We'll be moving more and more and more into heroic. And there's even some talk, very, very tentative, very, very out there, of maybe looking at trying to put together an actual Mythic raid team and doing some of that. That's way down the road, though. So with only one heroic boss under my belt, it's kind of hard to say definitively whether or not this is a home run. But at the very least, it feels like a raid. It looks like a raid. The bosses are interesting. The mechanics at least feel new. Even the ones that are, of course, repeats from old bosses and things like that. And overall, I would say, from my perspective, Nerubar Palace is absolutely a win. But where does that put the non-raiders? What about dungeons? For the first couple weeks of the expansion being out, we only had heroic versions of the War Within dungeons. And now that we have the Mythic Zero versions, again, which came out this last Tuesday, we have, in this season of Mythics, 4 War Within dungeons and 4 old dungeons that came back. As far as the War Within dungeons, I know that there have been quite a few critiques of a few of them. Specifically, the Dawnbreaker and Cinderbrew Meadery and Priory of the Sacred Flames come to mind, just right off the bat. Personally, I would say that for me, City of Threads is actually the one that I'm most concerned with. But only once we get into a timed content type scenario, Mythic Plus. Until then, I think the City of Threads is a win. I think that all of them are. I love what they tried to do with Dawnbreaker. I don't think that they quite hit as well as they wanted to with Dawnbreaker, and I think that that's where a lot of people are having a problem with it. But overall, I love the idea of Dawnbreaker. Let's see how it feels after I've run it 100 times, but as it stands, it is one of my favorite dungeons. My favorite dungeon is Cinderbrew Meadery. And yes, I know that it's a little bit goofy. I know that it's a little bit out there, but I love the fact that Blizzard is actually trying to put fun in their game. Odd concept, I know. As far as Priory of the Sacred Flame, the tuning on some of the damage events in there is kind of interesting in my mind. But again, we'll have to see what that looks like when we get to Mythic Plus. And we won't be seeing 2 of those until next season. Because in this season, we've got Arakara City of Echoes, City of Threads, the Dawnbreaker, and the Stone Vault. And I'm most worried from those 4 about City of Threads, not the Dawnbreaker. The Dawnbreaker has its issues, and it's going to have some problems in Mythic Plus. I can't argue that, and I won't argue that. But I'm glad that they're trying new things. I'm glad that they are stepping outside the box with some of their dungeon design. Now, where I start having a real problem with this Mythic season is actually the 4 dungeons that came back. Mists of Tyrna Scythe, the Necrotic Wake, Siege of Borealis, and Grim Batol. And I'll tell you right now, most people are complaining about Necrotic Wake, and that includes me. It's my favorite of these 4. Siege of Borealis is absolutely awful. It was in BFA, and it is now. It's one of the Mythic Zeros that I've had the pleasure of running so far. It's awful. Grim Batol was not great in Kata. We went back to Kata Classic and just did Grim Batol again. And I gotta say, it was mediocre at best. And they took away half of the Dragon event. So you're fighting even more trash to get to the second boss. Mist of Tyrna Scythe is well known for its crappy maze, as well as some fun mechanics. Mist of Tyrna Scythe has always just kind of been whatever for me. And I'm interested to see how it plays out, because they have gone in and made some changes to some of these older dungeons to fix them. However, Necrotic Wake and Mist of Tyrna Scythe are not that old. So Grim Batol got a lot of fixes. Siege of Borealis got a couple fixes. Necrotic Wake and Mists are, what, Shadowlands? So 2 expansions ago? They were designed with Mythic Plus in mind. So I doubt that we're going to see much of a change as we go into the Mythic Plus. But overall, I'm excited for this season of Mythic Plus because of Arrakara, City of Echoes, City of Threads, the Dawnbreaker, and Stonevault. And I love the fact that they gave us both of the Spider dungeons right off the bat to coincide with the Spider raid. I think that they've done a great job. And in fact, the Dawnbreaker itself also includes one of the bosses from the raid and a spider theme. I don't know how they could have fit these dungeons into the raid theme any better. So overall, I'm very excited to move into Mythic Plus. Mythic Zero has been fun for me so far for the ones that I've been able to do. I enjoyed everything that I did in Heroic. The one critique that I really have on the dungeon front is the fact that we spent so much time in Heroic. It feels like it would be better to have 2 weeks of Mythic Zeros rather than 2 weeks of no Mythics at all. But that also doesn't take into account that I'm still getting used to the fact that we now can run every single Mythic dungeon every single day. And I do feel a little bit overwhelmed by that, to the point that I've kind of just shut down. And I understand that that's my own issues, and there's people that are running these dungeons. But I'm going to feel a lot better when I can see the progression of the key system and everything like that, as opposed to just beating my head over and over against the same Mythic Zeros. And for those of you that are not interested in raiding or doing dungeons, there's PvP. Go away. No. There's the new Delve system, which is another track. It actually took the PvP track for the Great Vault, for the weekly rewards. And we'll get into some of the problems with delves in a minute, but if you're unsure of what a delve is, I actually have a video on my Rumble and soon to be on my YouTube about what delves are. Just kind of broad strokes while I'm running a low-level delve, just talking about, generally speaking, what you can expect to see and find and who Bran is and what's going on, right? Now that we're pushing into the harder and harder delves, and in fact, people have already cleared the Delver's Journey, which is the War Within Season 1 Delve achievement track, right? And have already beat Zek Veer, which is the last boss of the Delver's Journey and everything like that. Blizzard is absolutely furious, which caused them to go and try and rebalance things, which caused the community to be absolutely furious, which caused Blizzard to go back and rebalance things again. I'm broad strokesing this. I'm very much just kind of glossing over it, but the general idea is that there was some weird scaling in delves to begin with. A DPS going in alone was going to have a better time than a tank going in alone. In fact, a tank going in alone was expected to see significantly more health and damage coming from the mobs in the delve, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And furthermore, if a tank went in with a DPS friend, his time would actually be easier. Not because he had a damage dealer there with him, but because the life and damage scaled back down. And right after the community pointed all of this out, all of a sudden there was a hotfix scheduled for later on that evening. And that hotfix just made it super difficult for everybody, which, I mean, at least it just kind of made it hard for everybody, but at the same time, it made it a little bit much, and I think that goes back to the fact that we have some World First folks going and pushing as World First folks do. But the fact that Blizzard doesn't expect people to do that, the fact that they're not looking at the community and just accepting the fact that these delves are going to be chewed through as fast as anybody can chew through them, just, come on, Blizzard, you know better. They're going to beat the Mythic raid as fast as they can. They're going to beat the Heroic raid as fast as they can. They're going to push Mythic Plus as high as they can, as fast as they can. And guess what? They're going to do the same thing with Delve. So quit worrying about what the World Firsters are doing and continue with the spirit of what Delves are supposed to be, which is fun content for people that tend to be more solo, small group type people. People that tend to want to find a way to have gear to do open world type things. That's what Delves were sold to us as. They were supposed to be a path for the open world folks to get gear in their weekly vault. And from that standpoint, I think that this has been a huge success, other than Blizzard's little flub about making everything super difficult for no reason. I've had a lot of fun in Delves. I've been able to complete my 8s. They take time, they take thinking, they take using cooldowns judiciously, they take thought, but I can do them. As a DPS, as a tank, I've done both. Of course, I am playing a Death Knight with the expectation of being able to either tank or DPS on this character, and I'm having just an absolute blast in these Delves, as long as they're not super overtuned. I think that these are also a win. But again, we're going to have to see if they start squeaking after 100 iterations. I've done several of them multiple times. I've not done any of them more than 10. There are people that have. Those are the people that don't really care about whether or not they're fun anymore, though, and are just going to beat their head against them until they're done. So, as it sits right now, this video is going to be coming out on the eve of Mythic Plus season and the Mythic Raid coming out. Where I stand giving this video to you, I would say that overall, The War Within has been a home run. It's been great. The story is good. I think that they went out of their way to make sure that people saw the story, were involved in the story as much as possible, even though they know that the player base is going to just run through it. The raid feels like a raid, looks like a raid, quacks like a raid. Sure glad I didn't step in it. The dungeons have been amazing so far. I'm a little bit disappointed in the 4 dungeons that were brought back for the Mythic season, but hopefully Blizzard knows what they're doing with those. We'll have to see. And the Delves have been absolutely great. Honestly, I would say that this is one of my favorite expansion releases of all times, with my favorite still being Legion. But this is pretty close, and we'll have to see how it goes over the next couple of weeks. Where we are right now, though, I would just absolutely give this a amazing rating. I would say that this is 8 out of 10 if I had to give it a number. What do you think? Give me your comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how it's going for you. And of course, come check out the stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. CST to 3 p.m. CST, except Tuesdays is 10 to 3. You can find this video if you are on Rumble on YouTube, and on YouTube on Rumble. Both of those are at Omnivore. I do, of course, X out, post on X, tweet. I still don't even know what to call it. Over there you can get updates about what's going on with the channel, when I'm going live, my thoughts on different things that are coming out. We do have a TikTok, tiktok.com/@omnivore. Don't forget the little @. It is important, where I like to do funny short form content. And please come join us at the Discord if you'd like to talk about this anymore. That's Omnivore Entertainment. There will be a link in the description down below. Thank you all for watching. Bye!